In today's video, I want to show you how to add beading to your hand embroidery stitches. Hi, I'm Kim Jamieson-Hirst at Chatterbox Quilts. Now, I love to do hand embroidery, and I also enjoy doing beading, so what would be more natural than to combine both of them, right? So you can give your embroidery a little bit of bling, a little bit of contrast, a little bit more interest, really. So let's find out how to do that. So I've got some samples here already. I'm going to show you how to do these beading arrangements that you see here. So I've got here just a simple stem stitch where I have added some single beads, but then little clusters. So I want to show you how to do those. Here I've got these lazy daisy stitches, or single chain stitches is really what they are. And I've started to add some of the beads in the center, and I want to talk about the two different looks that we're seeing here. And then of course we've got the chain stitch here with some beads popping in the middle of them. So all simple things to do, but they can create a lot of interest to your hand embroidery designs. And besides, beads are fun, right? So many colors, so many shapes. They're great to collect. It's almost like candy, but non-fattening. All right, so let's first talk about how to do the beading that you see in through here. So when you've got a chain stitch, you've got this opening. Now I've made these chain stitches quite big. They may be smaller. They certainly could be, and you could still fit a bead in there because you can get beads that are very, very small, right? These are not too bad a size. But that opening in there is just crying out for something, right? So we want to pop some beads in there, right? So I've already got some thread on here. I'm using this Nymo beading thread. And these are the beads that I was using. Actually, they're called gumball mix. So it's kind of appropriate, talking about candy, right? So I'm just going to open these up and put out a few of them so that I've got ones I want in the color I want, okay? Because they're all different colors here. Whoops, a daisy. I want to get that cap back on. I don't want to have to be picking those up off the floor. All right, so I put out some of these. And I've got my different beads I'm going to be working with here, my scissors, my Nymo thread as well. And I've got batting down here because that keeps my threads, or my beads, I should say, from popping away from me. So let me grab one of these guys here. I think it's this guy I want. There we go. And I'm going to move these off to the side so you can see what I'm doing here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take that off, actually, because I have to come up in the middle of the chain stitch. So we're going to continue along here. And I'm going to add the bead, probably about there, looks good. All right. So I come up, and now I'm going to put my little bead on here again. Hopefully I don't stab myself. You know what? It's easier to put them back on the batting. I know you can't see that, but it's really easy to pick them up off the batting, usually. There we go. Whoops. I had him, then I lost him again. He's being tricky. These particular ones are not, I would say, perfect. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's not a perfect, these are not perfect beads. The centers are not right in the center of the bead. So they're kind of hard to pick up because they're narrower on one side than the other. All right, so I'm going to put this on here. And then I'm going to move that bead down. And I'm going to put my needle back in within the chain stitch. I was probably a little further along than I need to be in that particular chain stitch. It's right at the end of it, but that's okay. Let's see if we can pop another one in here. Let's go back a little further in that chain stitch so it's not quite that far along. So I might put a couple of these beads on before I lock my stitches, as I would say on the sewing machine, but before I actually put a knot on the thread and to hold them in place. So if I was going to add a whole bunch of these, and I'm having problems picking up a little yellow guy, here he is. So I'm alternating these kind of aqua color and the yellow. And now you probably can't see very well what's happening because I've got an audience that is really not required in that area because all she wants, she doesn't care about the beads. All she wants is that thread. And I don't want her to have that thread. So, all right. So back down we go, close to the bead. And we're going down here. So I put two of them on here. I would probably at this point in time tie off on the back side, of course, with a knot. And then start again with the rest of the beads I'm going to put in there. And the reason I do that is so that if my thread breaks later on, I will only lose a couple of the beads and not lose the whole string, that strand, I should say, of beads that might be in there. All right, so we're going to leave that one for now so you can see what I was talking about sticking them in the middle of the chain stitch. Kind of fun, right? So let's unthread my needle here and let's move over here. I have lots of needles, as you can see. I'm going to take that off. And pick up, I have thread on the back of these, okay? I've left extra thread so that I can just continue on and show you how to add these clusters. All right. And this is my favorite needle threader here. Okay, you can look below to find more details on that Bohin needle threader. It works really well for small-eyed needles too. So I've added these single ones here, and then I've added some clusters. So let's talk about the clusters. Let's come up here where I want to put my next cluster, say about there. And I'm going to start with one of these beads. I'm using these gorgeous little pink beads here. So we need to put a few out on my batting over here. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but trust me, they're going on the batting before I pick them up with my needle and thread, right? So let me go over and pick some up. I'm going to pick up one. Okay, so I've got one of these on here, right? And I'm going to lay it down and decide what angle I want it to be on, which sounds kind of strange, right? But if you notice, these are all kind of facing in different directions, and that's what I want to do here. So I'm going to take my thread and kind of lay it down the direction I want that bead to go, all right? So if I want it to go in that direction, then I'm going to come back down to the back again, and I'm going to lock that little guy in place, right? Now I'm going to come up with another bead. Let's see, maybe over on this side here. There we go. All right, I just pull him down. I'm going to pick up another pink bead. I got to pull everything over there because I don't have a hugely long thread here. And let's try this guy. Okay, so they come in different colors in this package. They're a little bit different shades of pink. So I've got this one down here. So maybe I want to take this one and have it come in this direction. Okay, it's heading in this direction. So I'm laying my thread down in the direction I want to go and then putting my needle down close to the bead. All right, so I've got two on there, right? Now I want to put another one kind of up in between the two of them in here, sort of. Okay, let's get that down in there. Pick up another bead here. Let's see what color we can get this time. Kind of close to the first one, I guess, really. All right, and I want him to go kind of just straight away from the hand embroidered line there. And he's going to go down there, and we're going to pull him in there. So we got a little cluster there, okay? So it depends on how close you want them. These other ones are a little closer than this one here, but that's fine. And I can do the 3 beads first and then tie them off. I certainly wouldn't keep going out in clusters before tying off the previous cluster, right? So I would just knot that thread. Here we go again with my unwanted audience. Yep, Salem and thread. It's a combination she loves. I certainly do not. I don't want her anywhere near my thread when I'm working with things. Okay, so I guess I can pull this up here. There we go. And I'm going to knot this. Whoops, I'm pulling on the loose end here. There we go. All right, so that's knotted. I can now clip that off. All right, and we've got those little clusters there. This reminds me of a cherry tree. I don't know why, but it reminds me of cherry blossoms on a cherry tree, just the color, I think, combinations. Okay, so now we've got one more color of beads, these golden ones. These are gorgeous, I think. They are in here. And I'm just going to put some of them out as well. Too many of those. So I'm laying them out on my batting. There we go. And I need to thread my needle because I do have excess thread over here. There we go. Got to make sure I don't get them all tangled in the back. So far, so good. So let's get this threaded up here again. Okay, so we got to start adding some of these gorgeous gold beads. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out to you, you'll probably notice that there's like a circle of beads around the outside here. And that's what I started at first. But I didn't really like it. I mean, it was okay, I guess, but it didn't look nearly as interesting as putting them all down in different ways. So I wanted to continue doing that. So I'm just going to pop up somewhere near some of the beads I've already applied and pick up a bead. Okay, and similar to the little bouquet, or the little clusters, I should say, that we were doing there, I'm going to just kind of put these down in random arrangement. Okay, so we're just kind of trying to fill in the center area there, And similarly to when I'm adding beads, any beads, when I'm doing multiple beads, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. When I'm adding multiple beads, I always want to put a few beads on and then I'm going to tie them off. So I might do maybe 2 or 3 of these beads. See if I can stick that guy right back in there. There we go. Okay, I pushed him back in there and I'm going to come down here. Hopefully I'll keep him where I want him. There we go. So I might do 3 of them. So I'm putting these all in kind of individually, right? There, I'm coming up in different parts of the center here. I got to get another bead. The most challenging part is picking up the little beads. It's not too bad, but occasionally they like to cause problems. So let's see, this guy could go right down in here, I think. All right, let's pull you down. So I put 3 different beads in, or 3 beads in, and at that point in time I would go on the back, I would go underneath one of my recent stitches here, and then I would tie off. Okay, so I would come up, I've gone through there, I'd go wrap this at least twice around my needle, and usually I will put the needle back in that loop to take that knot right down as close as I can get. All right, and then we would cut that off, and then we have anchored those beads. All right, I mean, you could tie them off after you did each one. Don't really think you need to do that. But what I like a lot more about this is this randomness. I think it's much more interesting than if I had gone around and kept going around. I mean, maybe, or what I might have done is gone around in the circle on the outside and then done the randomness in the center. That would also be interesting. I think that would work well too. So just a few different ideas of how you can add beading to your hand embroidery designs. As I said, it gives a little more interest. You'll notice that I've got contrasting beads to the thread I used so that the beads are highlighted. You want to see both, but you know, you do want to see the beads or you wouldn't be adding them, right? I think it would be a lot less interesting if you had, you know, aqua beads in the center. You really wouldn't notice them. You could put aqua and gold maybe, all right? Lots of different ideas I have of what you could do with these, but they really do add some interest and a little bit of bling, right? They are a little bit shiny, so they're quite nice. Now, if you have never done beading before and you want some more information, don't worry, I've got you covered. Check out this video that has all the important information that you need. And for more helpful quilting information, be sure to go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.